Welcome on up Ridge. Hopefully future campers for here. We're looking at a fifth wheel Cougar today. We'll start here with the leveling system. It's kind of just on this one, it's not the auto level. It's the little Cougar Sport. Um, so when you pull up to the campground, your campsite or wherever you're at, when you get there, you're going to do your leveling side to side with the tires. So if you use chalks, blocks, whatever you use, you're going to get side to side done with the tires or with chalks and blocks. And then you're going to keep the motion from the camper going back and forth. You're going to put some kind of chalks, some ink blocks, anything you can use for rocking motion. And then you can use your front to do the leveling front to back. And then inside here, you got your stab jacks, which you can extend or retract. You have your front and your rears. And after you've camped in the camper a day or so, or if you're on dirt at any time, come out here and hit these again, just that way it's stabilized. Um, but you do want to make sure anytime you are messing with the stabilizing of the camper, your steps on the other side are either put up or your doors open so nothing gets in a bind right there. And as far as the leveling system goes, that's pretty much it on this Cougar. Now we're going to start on the propane. So on these, they have an automatic switchover on the regulator. So if I have both tanks open and I run this one completely dry, it's automatically going to switch over to the other tank if it's open. So I recommend leaving one of them closed. And up in here, there's a little valve, a little black valve. And you can point it towards this right now. It's pointing at the opposite side of the tank. Or you can point it at this side of the tank and pull from this one. But just make sure, remember, leave one closed. So our docking station here is where we're going to put, you're going to do your city fill, your tank flush, and winterize. So your winterize, you just take your old hose, cut you about 3 feet off of it, stick your hose in here, stick it down in a jug, go around to all your spigots, make sure you get plenty in the P-traps, make sure you get everything where you see pink, do your external shower. After you've done all that, turn the pump off and let a little bit of pressure off, and then there's a little valve behind the city water. You just push it, and it's going to push out a lot of pressure, so make sure you're kind of standing off to the side, and then you've winterized it. So it's not too bad to winterize, but it's helpful. The city water, I recommend if you're running a pressure regulator, or running any kind of filtration, anything like that, I recommend you run it at the campground spigot, so that way it's not hanging in here, or you're keeping your hose clean too if your filter's out there, so you don't have a dirty hose. Always make sure your black and your gray are closed. You want to use your black. Your black tank's just your toilet. You want to use it as a holding tank. So even if you're at full hookup, you still want this to stay closed. So that way you don't have your liquid just flowing out and your solid just pyramiding up. Always when you drain them, drain one first, then drain the other. Mostly people do black first, then gray. That way it kind of cleans it out. But do only use one at a time. And your winterize, if you do the winterize, you do turn it to on. And this has a tankless water heater, and we'll get there when we get to it. It's already wired from the roof to here on the satellite. So if you want to add a satellite to the roof, you just hook up and you're good to go. Or if the campground offers cable or satellite, you can hook up at either one of these two. Extra solar panels. You can add extra solar panels out here on the ground. And then these lights that are all on right now are motion lights. They have a 2, a 1, and a 0. Zero's off, 1's on all the time, and 2's motion. They're LED, they don't take a lot of juice, so it ain't gonna hurt to leave them on motion. Your external shower, get your little hose in there and you can rinse off, if it's the beach or creek or whatever. And that pretty much does it for the docking station. Now you have your fresh water. So if you're wanting to take water with you, you'd fill it here. And it's got a little vent beside it, little bitty holes there. That way, as you're filling it, it has somewhere for the air to go. If you overflow, it's going to spit out there. If you do that, make sure you go inside, turn the pump on, and just run a couple gallons to it. So that way when you're traveling down the road, it's not in this pickup line in the water and they rust it loose. And you next time you go fill, it's all over the ground. There is going to be a drain. It's going to be at the back of the coach, probably on this one, or between the tires. And it's just a fresh water drain. Well, this one's in between the tires. So this one's in between the tires. It's a white Valterra. And you just grab it and pull to dump it or push it into when you're filling it. It's a good thing to leave those open when you're not using it, because if you keep it closed all the time, condensation, mildew, and mold will get in there. So good idea just to leave it all open. That's kind of on the fresh water. Now we'll go to solar. So solar, there's a little charge controller in here. This is for 30 amp right now. So it'll run whatever you need right now as far as charging the batteries. You can do lithium or regular batteries, deep cycle. It does have a disconnect on it. The only time you turn the disconnect off on any of these disconnects is if you're storing it where it's going to be no sunlight's going to get to it. If you're storing it outside, you can have the sunlight's going to charge the batteries, so it'll keep the batteries charged throughout the winter. So it makes it nice. Now move on to the slides. So in this coat, this actually has the cable driven slides. So pretty much all you got to really worry about on the cable driven is make sure it don't fray right here. And then if these don't have to be guitar string tight, but make sure, you know, if there's big sag in the middle and inside above the fascia, you can run in a little bit, and there'll be a 10 millimeter. We take 10 millimeter uh, wrench, and you can tighten up which one's loose, and just you don't have to be guitar string tight, but tighten it up. Your rubber seals 3 or 4 times a year. Make sure you take some kind of rubber UV rubber protectant and spray on there, up and down, across the top, down the sides. If it gets on your phylon, really don't have to worry about it. It's no big deal. It'll dry. You'll never know it's there. So your power cord. So this one's set up for 50 amp. So if you wanted to add a second air conditioner, you could add a second air conditioner. But if, like most campgrounds, don't offer 50 amp, as like we're here, we're hooked up to 30 amp. So you can get you a reducer and get it down to 30 amp. I recommend a surge protector. Well, let me go back to the 30 amp. So the 30 amp, you can still run one air conditioner and everything in the coach just fine. But if you add the second air conditioner, that's when you have to have 50 amp to run 2 air conditioners or put a soft start on one. But I do recommend on the power cord a surge protector of some type. I would get a multi-hit, not a single hit. Multi-hit can take several times. So these steps, like I was saying in the leveling part, whenever you're leveling them, you want to make sure that either the door's open or the steps are up so nothing gets in a bind. When you do adjust them, these have the pins in them. You pop the pins out, and then you can slide them up and down and get it to where you want. You do want to make sure, see how that when it sets, it's hitting on the threshold. So you don't want to be able to stick your finger in there or have it up like this. You want it to be nice and flush, so when this door comes in, it don't catch, and it has that nice smooth finish. You don't want it to get in a bind. And when it folds up, there's a little handle, kind of holds it in place so when you open the door, it don't smack you in the face. But the door is actually what holds it so it don't bounce around when you're going down the road. Recommend throwing a towel in there if you put it up wet, so that way your window, you're not getting anything ruined. And we're gonna move on to the awning. So the awning, heavy winds, heavy rains, going to bed at night, go ahead and bring it in. When it's fully extended, you can adjust it to where pitch water can go this way or that way just by pulling on the bottom handle. Or you can pull both of them down, get more shade out here. And if you put it up wet, try to within a month or so, bring it back out, let it dry out so it don't get all nasty. So the water heater, nice thing about the tankless is that you can set a temperature inside that you that you prefer. I think it goes from 90 to 124. You set the temperature at whatever temperature you want, and all you do is go to your shower, turn the hot on, and don't fight with cold. And whatever temperature you got set at, that's what it'll repeat at. So that's pretty nice about the tankless. It does have an O for off and I for on, but on the digital inside, you can actually physically turn it off in there too and on. So if you have this on I just leave it all summer on I until you're ready to put it up. On the furnace, I recommend mud dauber screen, so that way you don't get the mud daubers up in there and run your exhaust vent. On the roof, so now on the roof, you want to make sure occasionally you get up there and walk it. It's not going to hurt to walk it. Make sure there's no voids, no gaps, no screw heads popping up. Make sure you get some kind of self leveler on them if you do have something like that. This one does not come with them. Some come with lithium in the Cougar style, but this one you can add lithium if you want. It will auto detect, the converter will. And you got another disconnect in here. This is the same way with the other one. The only time you use it is if you're putting it up for the winter and you're not going to be using it, or you're covering it. Tire link is if you want to add TPS sensors where you can check your tire pressure as you're going down the road and heat. That's a super nice thing to do, because when you're traveling down the road, you don't want a tire to get hot or lose air and you not know it. So the TPSs are nice. Appliances, we'll start with the stove. So the stove's a simple, they still have LP in it, but all you do is turn over till little flame sensors are lit, and then clockwise always on the igniter. Don't go counterclockwise, it'll break right off. And the oven, push in, turn over till it stops, and then do your clicking. Kind of point the glass so you can see that thermocoupler back there, and you'll see the blue light until it ignites to the pilot light. Once it lights, you just turn it to your desired temperature. It does have an oven light, and then little blue lights. Always make sure it's cooled off on the top before you go to close it. Microwave, standard microwave. They got the glass in them. A lot of times, if it's me, even though this does have a lock, I would still pull the glass out just in case it bounces loose, lands on the floor. 12-volt refrigerator. Nice thing about this, if we unplug from the wall, we're going to start pulling from the batteries. When it's sunny out, the battery's going to be charged by your solar panels, or when you're plugged in your truck traveling down the road, you're going to be charging it that way also. So it's got off-grid, and after you pass off-grid, the first mark's really where nice starting point, but the more you go that way, the colder it's going to get. If you're in and out of it a bunch, you're going to want to do probably a little more than where I just set it, and that does your freezer and your fridge. And then if you do physically want it to turn off, you manually just turn it off. That way, even though the light stays on, it is off. Moving on to the emergency exits. So each emergency exit, occasionally just pop it open, even for just a brief second. They've just got a different seal around them, and some of that seal, the sun will make it to where it's almost glued shut. So just occasionally just open them up. These blinds, if you go to push them up and it just falls right back down, there's these little strings in here that by that time it'll be loose. Just take and wrap it around at the bottom. TV, you've got key TV, so there's no button to push. All you do is go to channel search and scan for channels. If you want to watch Hulu, Netflix, and all that stuff, there is somewhere on the ceiling, it's right above us here, there is Gateway is one of the options to where you can have basically add a router to your camper so you can have Wi-Fi anywhere you go. LP, carbon monoxide detector, and your fuse panel. So your fuse panel, you've got your 110 just like your breakers at home. If those trip, you just reset them. On these over here, if any of these trip, a red light beside it will let you know it's blown, unless it's a light and you don't have it clicked on. But if the light's not working, you can just go push it on, the red light will come on here. thermostat on this one. So on this one, it's got the Furrion AC, and basically hold in on it and you go and set your desired temperature, or you can go to heat and set your fan on off, or if you want the fan to circulate the air, you can, and then just hold it until it stops. On your panel for your gauges, you got your battery empty, 1/3, 2/3 full, fresh tank. So that's where if you're filling the fresh outside, you can take water with you. Turn your pump on, and when you go to spigot, it'll call for water. It turns the pump on. Black is just your toilet, empty, 1/3, 2/3 full, and then gray 2, same thing. Your bathroom, so your bathroom, your toilet, if it don't hold water above that seal, you're going to either take like a heat gun or a blow dryer, something, get it hot, and you kind of get that to seal, or take a glove and some Vaseline and rub around that seal with the water off, and just bring it in and out a bunch of times. It should bring it back to where it seals. There's a few tricks on that. And actually, I'm gonna let you come in here. On here, there's a water heater on the wall right here. So the water heater gauge, you can set your temperatures. I turned it off out there, but you can turn it off and on in here, and you can set your temperatures here. And then your outside plug, if it's not working, your GFI would be right here. So if your plug on the outside is not working, you can come in here. It's probably tripped right here. The bedroom, this one's got Type C and USB on both sides of the bed, and it also has the 110 on both sides of the bed. The GFI that's up underneath that side, that says the little yellow inverter prep, any plugins that's on that, they'll all say inverter prep. If any of those don't work, it's tripped right there. And that's if you add the inverter, which is taking 12 volt, switching it to 110. Makes it nice. Nerd see exit. See how they get stuck? So just occasionally just pop it open. Even if you want to breeze, you can open it for that too. Second AC install. If you want to do the second AC install, everything's there. Just run your 110, 12 volt, and all that. Storage under the bed. Looks like your sink covers are under there too. And that's pretty much it on this coat.